What's going on YouTube? So as crossovers have taken over the American market, many people have been moving from the 3 Series to the X3 instead. That's why today we wanted to spend some time with the latest version of BMW's bestseller and see what exactly has made this such an appealing product. So starting off here with this loaded M40i example, you will notice, of course, this has a very aggressive fascia as the sport-oriented model. Different from the standard X3 is going to be that the kidney grills are finished in kind of a bronze color. And as you can see, this is a little bit smaller than what's on the latest crop of BMWs like the X7. And then as far as your lower fascia, of course, this is a lot more aggressive. Including this part right here. And as far as your headlights, they are standard adaptive LEDs, and they do have a very nice looking design. And you will also find standard fog lights down here on the bottom. Now, in order to not confuse you too badly with options, I'm just going to talk about the M40i's wheel options. Now, there are 3. There's a standard 19-inch alloy. We have the middle example, which are these 20-inch alloys, very nice looking. And you can even get 21s if you prefer to have that. And of course, with the M40i, you have the really nice looking blue brake calipers. And then moving on up here to your mirrors, of course, they are finished in that signature bronze color. They do have all the different options, so you have auto dimming, power folding, and heating, as well as blind spot monitoring since we have the driving assistance package.
Now, coming around here to the M40i's rear design, I have to say this is a very good looking SUV, and it does have BMW's latest design. So you do have these fully LED taillights. These are standard across all of the models. And coming down, this is where you're going to see the big differences for the M40i model, since this whole area is now blacked out. And you do also have trapezoidal exhaust pipes for this M40i model. And as far as the regular X3, you're going to have circle exhaust as well as a black plastic molding going all throughout the bumper area. Now, in typical BMW fashion, they don't throw in hardly any of the safety systems as standard equipment like some of the Japanese rivals, so you are just going to have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection as standard on all X3s. Now, if you want some of the higher end safety systems, you're going to have to go for the Driving Assistance Plus package, which throws in lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, evasive assist, as well as a traffic jam assistant. Well guys, that sums up the exterior about this X3 M40i, so now let's go ahead and hop in the inside.
So standard on the M40i X3, you will have BMW Smart Entry System. And since it is part of the M Sport group, you even have the little M colors there on the side. Now you can also remote start, available via the BMW application. And then of course, to get inside the vehicle itself, all you have to do is reach behind the handle since there is a sensor. Alright, now first looking inside this X3. Honestly, it makes a really good first impression because it looks a whole lot like the X5 that we were in about a month ago. Now, of course, as far as your interior material and color options are concerned, you do have a wide variety of them. So standard is a Sensatec faux leather in black or Canberra beige. However, we have the optional Vernasca leather, and that comes in black, Canberra beige, mocha, oyster, or cognac color options. And then as far as the different interior trims, there are 5 different options, just a variety of aluminum and woods, which I won't talk about all of them here. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is very nicely appointed. As you can see, you have leather that runs all through here as well as up the armrest. You do have a color contrast stitching, and the top part here is also stitched. We have a high gloss wood. You have some real aluminum trim that runs through here with the X branding in it. And of course you have 2-person memory seating as standard equipment. As far as your windows, they are one-touch automatic for all 4. And then coming down here to your seats, this is the 10-way power adjusting seat with 4-way lumbar support. And we do also have a manual thigh extension. Now, like I was saying, as the real Vernasca leather, this is a very premium seat. Definitely has a very soft and supple feel, and as you can see, it has a very attractive stitching design with a lot of perforation and a lot of contrast. Now, like I said, it definitely makes a strong first impression, and once you get in and start touching around, you will see that the materials do back up that impression. So across your upper dash here, you have a soft touch plastic with a color contrast stitching detail. And then dropping down here, we have a wood trim through the middle, some more aluminum off to that side. Of course, all of these areas here are all soft touch along through here. And you also have some piano black and some more wood trim. Now obviously, push button start is standard equipment. When you start it up, you'll definitely get that nice exhaust note, just kind of rewarding you for paying extra for this M40i. Now, of course, what you are looking at here is your 12.3-inch live cockpit professional system, just a fully reconfigurable digital gauge cluster. This is optional, and it's part of the executive package. And of course, as you can see, it has a really cool futuristic look. Like I said, it is reconfigurable. You just do it inside of the main display. And in addition to that, on this specific example, we also have the head-up display. That is also part of the executive package. And coming back to the steering wheel, of course we do have electric power assisted steering. And then we have this really nice M steering wheel. Super thick, feels really nice in the hand, and even has the leather covered airbag. It is also heated. And as you can see, it is manually adjusting. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the interior storage, which, honestly, for this X3 is one of the better options in the class. So opening up the center console here, as you can see, this is actually quite deep. You do have a nice rubber lining down at the bottom, as well as a USB Type-C. And then up in front of that, you kind of have this little sliding thing. You can slide out of the way to reveal your 2 cup holders, a 12-volt outlet, and then optionally you can get a wireless phone charger, which is what we have, for $500, and another USB port. Now coming back to the shifter, this is the typical BMW electronic shifter, so you press down the side and pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the left to shift manually. Right there, or you can use the standard paddle shifter since this is the M40i after all. Jumping into reverse, you will find a 360-degree camera system pop up if you have the executive package like we do. So you have both your traditional view and your 360 view, but coolest of all is if you bump over here and click 3D view, then you go into this three-dimensional view where you can basically just spin all around the vehicle. Very few brands do this. I think only BMW and Audi I've seen do this, and it remains one of the coolest things, pieces of technology I've ever seen in any type of car. And then for park, just press the P across the top, and you do have an electronic parking brake and brake hold function right behind that. So the next thing to look at up the dashboard here is going to be our tri-zone automatic climate control setup. As you can see, mostly it is just adjusted here with large physical controls. You do also have both heated and ventilated seats on this particular model. It's going to require at least a premium package for the heated seats, and then the ventilation is a standalone option. And right above that, we have our audio controls. Now, standard is going to be a 12-speaker, 205-watt setup. However, we have the optional 600-watt, 16-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. So we'll go ahead and take a sample of that. So overall, I have to say this is definitely a very rich sounding sound system. And I will also mention that we do have the gesture controls. Those are also part of the executive package. Alright, so now we are up here at our iDrive 7.0 system paired to a 10.25 inch display. Now there's two different display options on this X3. You have a 7-inch display, and that's going to run iDrive 6.0, and then you have, like I said, this 10.25-inch display with the latest software. But overall, they're pretty much the same, just a little bit updated graphics and a little bit better performance. We also have standard navigation on this example, as well as Apple CarPlay. And starting in July, BMW says that on the iDrive 7.0 system, they will begin rolling out Android Auto support as well. Now moving on up here, we do have an auto dimming mirror with universal remotes. And you will also find a standard panoramic moonroof. So of course, as you can see, this is gigantic. It definitely covers up the vast majority. And as expected, the front portion does open up with a wind buffer.
So hopping in this X3's rear seat, my first impression is actually a really good one because it doesn't seem like I'm really sacrificing much over the more expensive BMW models like the X5. Now, as far as the feature set is concerned, here in the center we do have rear vents. They are standard across all of the models, as well as our own climate controls since the 3-zone setup is standard on all X3s. And then down below that, we do have a little storage cubby, as well as 2 USB Type-C ports for charging. Now, in addition to that, if you want heated rear seats, that is a standalone option. Now, here in the center, we do have a fold-down armrest, cup holders inside. And as far as the legroom is concerned, you're going to come in at 36 inches of rear legroom and 39 inches of rear headroom, which places it right in line with its main rivals like the Mercedes GLC. And behind rear seating position, I have probably 5 to 6 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, so you're definitely not going to have any issues fitting your family back here. Now, walking up to this X3 M40i's tailgate, it is standard hands-free power, which is really nice, so just wave your foot under the bumper. And once it opens up, you are going to find a really good amount of space for this X3. It's quite a bit larger than the Mercedes GLC, coming in at 29 cubic feet of space behind the second row, and that expands to 63 cubic feet if you fold it. The hell did that come from?
I tried to stick it up there.
Oh. And as far as how that's finished back here, of course this is a BMW after all, so it's finished really nicely. You have a nice carpeting along the floor, and up underneath of it, you do have a little bit of additional storage. And if you go back all the way to the back, there's actually quite a bit more storage up under the floor, as well as 2 compartments along the sides, a cargo cover, and the seats can also fold 40-20-40 split. Now here at the passenger seat, we do have the same adjustment as the driver. And in front, we do have a really good sized glove box, nicely felt lined. And up top, we have a sun visor with an LED light and a tiny little mirror. And you can also detach it as well as extend.
Okay, so there we are. First acceleration in the M40i X3. And I have to say, it's impressive. You know, as I expected it would be. Since we do have the same 3-liter twin turbocharged inline 6-cylinder, just like in the 340i 3 Series that we drove, you know, and I just love this engine so much.
You can't help but fall in love with this inline 6-cylinder. I mean, just the sound of it is absolutely ridiculous. And then also the performance is there to back it up too. You're looking at 382 horsepower, which actually is probably one of the only 2020 changes for this M340i, is that it's been upgraded 27 horsepower over last year to 382. And you still do produce the same 365 pound-feet of torque. So obviously you don't need me to tell you, those are very healthy numbers, especially for a crossover like this.
So while we're traveling through here at low speed, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about the, you know, kind of family-oriented aspects of this model, because it is an X3 after all. It's a family crossover. You know, the big thing that strikes me is the ride quality.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems absolutely superb. You know, the way it's absorbing some of these rough sections of the road, which, you know, I'm familiar with driving on, really smoothing them out a lot. And this has the adaptive M-Sport suspension as well, so that you can see the adaptability at work there. We're in the default comfort mode currently. You know, and it really does smooth things out, is indeed very comfortable.
But then, you know, you push the accelerator and it can switch just like a blink of an eye. You know, that's really the beauty about, I mean, if you've watched our M340i video or anything like it, we just say it again and again. You know, like this segment where you put this inline 6 in there, it's a great combination of just being normal but still super duper fun to drive, and that really does carry over to this X3 as well, because, you know, it does have that typical family characteristic. You have a ton of space in the back, but yet, you know, if you really want to have some fun, switch into sport mode, you have that fantastic exhaust note, and you actually do have really good performance. I didn't mention it earlier, but 0 to 60 is 4.6 seconds in this model, which is really, really fast for an SUV. It's faster than the GLC 63 Coupe. So, you know, and there's really good performance out of an SUV. Love the sound.
Well, I do want to go ahead and mention that it does have an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's really, really smooth, and as you can see, really quick shifting. You know, I mean, I got no complaints or, you know, really anything like extra to add to that. It's just a really well-rounded transmission.
And this M40i model is also going to come standard with all-wheel drive. So that's just something worth considering here with this M40i if you're looking to get it. And while we're up here at highway speeds, we're going a little bit faster than we normally are for our decibel test. And this road is also very, very rough, but we'll see how it does.
I'm going to take it to 60.
Yeah, wow, that's really a testament here to how good this car is and how quiet it is in this cabin, because we're at 57 decibels, going 60, which is higher than we normally are.
Nice.
And this road is insanely loud. We've been on it in many different cars. New Circle is very loud. 57 decibels, so that's really on par with most of them at worse conditions. So that really goes to show you.
So right there was our auto start stop system. Very impressive. That's definitely amongst the best auto start-stop systems in the business. You know, once again, another thing, no complaints about it. I'm going to go ahead and toggle us into the sport mode, which does also activate the sport exhaust.
I'm excited.
So once we get going here, we
that
will
is standard
sample.
on the M40i, by the way, that sport exhaust system.
Oh, you can immediately tell a lot deeper.
Yes, sir.
Like, literally, what in the world? These SUVs,
Wow.
they're crazy.
Wow. Seriously, guys, I mean, if you have the money to afford this, just go for it. Seriously. You will not regret getting the 40i over the 30i. I know it is a little bit of a price premium, but, you know.
I mean, like, this is legitimately fun, you know? I'm like, it's sad about that everybody's switching to crossovers from sedans, and, you know, the 3 Series is amazing. But like I said at the beginning of the video, you know, like, this is just kind of the way that things are going. So I really appreciate that BMW is making, like, a genuinely fun crossover, because if that's what, you know, you want, or, you know, like the wife wants, or something like that, you know, you need the space, you've got kids, you know, you're not really sacrificing that much. Now, unfortunately, today our drive route's not really going to include any, like, curvy roads or anything like that. But I will go ahead and mention the steering. I mean, you can tell at any speeds, you know, that they really tuned this well. It's very responsive. You know, going onto this ramp right here, I mean, look at that. It takes very little movement at all to get that, you know, response that's immediate. And it also has a really good feedback. Definitely has a good feel for an SUV.
And another thing that I noticed with this model is just how thick the wheel is. You know, we have a Tesla Model 3, if you're not familiar with the channel, and, you know, that's honestly one of the thickest rimmed wheels that we've ever experienced, and this was probably just as thick, if not thicker than that, which is actually quite nice for you to hold on to.
Right, and this is exactly the same steering wheel as the X3M, so once again, you know, you're getting that situation where you get a lot of things from the X3M onto, you know, this model.
Now, the last thing I do want to talk about here is the fuel economy. So for this M40i model, you're going to come in at 21 city, 27 highway, 23 combined. And like I said, it does come standard with all-wheel drive, so that's your only fuel economy figure.
But overall, I think it really goes without saying, this is an enjoyable crossover to drive. Would recommend. But yeah, seriously, this is, if you're gonna get a family luxury crossover and you have $65,000, you know, ask yourself, do you want to get like the regular boring version, or why not get this version?
Yeah.
You know, where you can have the best of both worlds. You're not sacrificing any comfort or utility, but you're still having fun.
Alrighty, now let's go ahead and discuss the pricing here. So for this M40i, you're going to start at $55,900, and that does include xDrive all-wheel drive as standard equipment. And for reference, compared to the regular 30i model with all-wheel drive, that's going to be $43,950. So you're looking at about $12,000 of a price difference. Now, as far as what we have on this particular X3, we have the driving assistance package for $500, as well as the executive package for $4,800. In addition to that, we also have the adaptive M suspension for $700, as well as front ventilated seats for $350, wireless charging for $500, Harman Kardon audio system for $875, And then when you add the destination charge, this particular model as equipped comes in at $65,570, which I have to say, you know, it is pretty expensive, especially for this class of vehicle. But with this engine, honestly, this feels like a true performance car. And, you know, I didn't even see that it's that much worse than the regular X3M. And this is significantly cheaper than that model. So this is kind of a good in-between for that X330i and that X3M model. Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 BMW X3 M40i. We really appreciate you watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, hopefully that means you enjoyed it. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.